Welcome back. This is Photoshop. This is the image editing software we're going to be using to prepare images for importing into your website. You remember we did a little bit of work on this over the last few weeks. I've just opened up the background image here, so you should be able to work along with me if you want to open that one up. First thing to remember is zooming in and zooming out. We can use the magnifying glass, the zoom tool here if you like. You can also use the keyboard, Command and spacebar will zoom in, Command spacebar Alt will zoom out. You can also probably find you can use the wheel on your mouse, which is handy too. Whichever way you want to zoom, fantastic. Don't feel you have to keep going back to the toolbar all the time. If you can start learning some keyboard shortcuts now, it will speed up your workflow. So, select an object in Photoshop. This is one of the main selection tools. It's called the marquee tool. Let's get a look at it here. When we click on it, we get a contextual menu. The contextual menu gives you all sorts of options. Rectangular marquee tools, singular line marquee tools, etc. When we click and drag, we can pick up an object. Okay? If we copy and paste, that object will move on to another layer. If we want to move the object around, we can just choose the move tool here. Once the selection tool indicates the marching ants going around the object, we can click on the move tool here and we can move the object anywhere we like. I'm not getting a big white background every time I move because if you look, my background is automatically set to black. So as I move around, my object's moving around. Okay? If I want to copy and paste that, edit, copy, edit, paste. You know the keyboard shortcuts at this stage. Okay? Edit, copy, edit, paste. And if you look over here on our layers, we've automatically made a new layer called layer 1 with our object on it. We can turn off any layer by clicking on the icon here. Now you'll see the background layer is turned off and you can see our foreground little head is moving around here. Okay? We can turn off that head just by turning on the icon. Now it's fully transparent and we can put the background layer back on again. Okay? If we want to trash a layer that we've created, we can just drag that layer and put it all the way down into the waste bin that is part of the layers palette on the right hand side. Okay, you'll also notice these are floating palettes, just like Dreamweaver. So if we click on the word layers, we can move the layers over here, or we can dock them back in exactly where they came from just by dragging them back over to the side. Very, very handy. Okay, so put the layers back where they were. It's all about moving the word itself and everything will follow. So we have a background here, and imagine I just want to delete this guy's face. I just pick a marquee tool that suits, the circular one, select over the object, and to fill that space I'm going to hit Command Backspace and that'll fill it with black. If we hit Alt Backspace, it'll fill it with white, which is the foreground. Okay, so Command Backspace fills it with the background color, Alt Backspace fills it with the foreground color. If you want to deselect, you can just hit Command D on the keyboard and it kills your selection, which is kind of handy. Just remember, those selection tools, this selection tool here is a very basic one. The same with the lasso tool. It can be very handy to select things with the lasso tool, but a lot of the time you're going to want to remember what we did with the paths and the pen tool. Okay, so you can go back and check the notes on those if you like. We're going to save this background now, and to save the background we're going to choose File, Save for Web. Save for Web allows us to change the amount of pixels in the image, which we don't need to do right now, but it also allows us to compare the original file size, 2 megabytes, with the file size of the compressed image. This, by default, is a GIF file. Okay? Most of the time you'll find you'll be using JPEG files for what we're choosing. JPEG files give you the flexibility to use millions of colors, but it will lose a lot of detail when you save it onto the internet, which is fine because people are only going to be viewing your website at around 72 pixels per inch. Okay, so the quality here, we can choose 100% quality, the larger file size, but it'll take longer, a larger file size taking longer to download, but it'll be clearer. Or we can bring it down to 0, which basically will make your image look pretty poor in quality, but it'll be a lot faster. So it's always a compromise. Okay, hit the save button here and you can save that over your original background in your website folder, and then you'll see when you go back to Dreamweaver that image will automatically have updated.